What is up, guys? Keith Jamison here from Fantasy Sports Insight, here to break down the Wednesday 3-game FA Cup slate. Had some feedback about touching on the previous slate since we're doing this daily. Would love to go over yesterday briefly. So, big thing was just adjusting to all the rotation. We mentioned Liverpool would likely rotate, and they did, although they still had a fairly decent side out. So the first guy into our core was Andy Robertson. Likely was going to be on all the corners for Liverpool, and he took most. Funny enough, Fabinho went over and took some, but Robertson at sub 6K was an easy play. The next guy in for us was Luke Freeman. Sheffield was the biggest favorite on the slate, although they did have a weekend side, but at 4,100 he was jumping on all corners for them, so was a lock and load. Final guy was Willian. With no Mount, no James, was likely to be on all the sets for Chelsea, was forward eligible. I think it was 9,100. With all the value, was an easy fit. So those were the three. The fourth I gave out was a pick between Matt Phillips, who scored. We had Lazaro from Newcastle, who was on their sets, who also scored. He was one of the choices. You could have gone Chris Brunt, who was likely the West Brom set taker, or at least a split with Phillips. He got double digits. Or Swift from Reading, who struggled a little bit until extra time, and I believe it ended up in double digits. Personally, I ended up being on Lazaro and Brunt, which was fine, but Phillips going off did hurt at high ownership. So that was the core from yesterday. A lot different than what I gave out because there was a ton of rotation. So like anything with soccer, it's all going to depend on lineups. Hopefully today we'll get closer to being right on what the early lineups are. So let's, without waiting anymore, let's jump into the builds. So at forward, actually, before I go in, let me just go over the odds real quick. Like most slates with Man City is the big overwhelming favorite and will dictate the slate. So we got Man City about a 666 favorite at Sheffield Wednesday with a 3.25 total. Biggest news, I'll go over it, will be just if De Bruyne is in. If KDB is in, he's hard to fade, but makes your lineup pretty brutal. The next biggest slate is Leicester at home, hosting Birmingham. We likely will not see Madison, but Leicester still is going to put out a pretty solid side. And last favorite is Spurs at home to Norwich, minus 185. All right, so at the forward position, Son, I don't even know why they don't have out, but he is out for the season. We've got Kane is still dealing with a long-term injury. Aguero, I expect to get rotated out. He played on the cup title. Actually went off with a knock, but expect Jesus to be in, so at 9,800. Leading the line for the biggest favorite on this slate is very much in play. Is goal dependent, but should have a decent amount of shots and a strong play. Now, if we see Mahrez, Vardy's already been ruled out. Mahrez, if in, without KDB, would take at least half, if not most of the sets. Even with KDB, he a lot of times takes the corners from that side. But Mahrez just been awesome the last few weeks. Takes a ton of shots, gets fouls drawn, sets up shots, crosses the ball. So he's kind of a DFS dream, 9,400 and being 4 eligible. He'd be a tough fade if in. He did not start on the weekend, so I do expect him in. Sterling likely would be rotated back out. He started the cup title. It's only a couple of weeks removed from coming back from injury. City has a big fixture list coming up, so that's why today's going to be so interesting in what they do. Let me pull up real quickly the next few games for them. So because of the cup final, there's game congestion just really gets hectic. So on the 8th, which I believe is Saturday, Sunday, sorry. Sunday they go to United. On Wednesday the 11th, they host Arsenal, which is the makeup game from the cup title. They couldn't play this Sunday. On the 14th, which is Saturday, they host Burnley. That likely will be a big rotation for them. And then on the 17th, the huge tie with Madrid at home. So again, they have a lot of games coming up here really fast. So it'd be really interesting to see how much they prioritize this FA Cup fixture, especially with their so-called B team should be able to take care of business versus Sheffield Wednesday. Nacho, I'm not going to try to say it. Nacho, he's going to be starting and leading the line for Leicester. 8,800, has to score, but decent shot of it. Bergwijn for Spurs should be in. Spurs are not like the most DFS friendly team. A lot of the guys, other than whoever's on sets, will have to score to get you value, especially at these prices. So I would be shocked if he ends up in my lineup. But if you want a GPP play, he could easily show up with a goal, maybe even two, if Norwich is exceptionally bad. I do expect Bernardo to come back in for City, but he's my least favorite of the City players. Now that I've said that he's my least favorite, he will score. But yeah, Dele played a false 9 for Spurs last game, had 2 assists on the weekend. 7,600, I expect him to be in, as they've already said that they're not going to be starting Parrott. So 7,600 is okay. Lamela, if you do see him in without Lo Celso, I think there's a high likelihood he would be on most of the corners for Spurs. That makes him a very decent play at 7,100 without and forward eligible. Big thing is Mora has been, I don't know if Lucas has been off in like 3 weeks or 4 weeks, so I can almost guarantee you that he should sit and Lamela go in. Forestieri, my bad, has been taking most of the sets for Sheffield Wednesday, but it's for City. I don't think that that's where you go, but he is a nice player. I guess it's worth bringing up Jefferson Montero for Birmingham. Birmingham has a couple injuries. Bellingham is out. What's the other guy's name? Give me a second. Bella is also out, so Montero could end up starting out on the wing. When he's been in, he has been taking some sets, so that's an interesting play if you see it. And that pretty much wraps up forward. Again, you'll be really, City is going to dictate your forward position. Now, the biggest decision on the entire site is De Bruyne at 1,100 or 11,000. Really hampers your build completely. So it's really just going to depend if he's in. If he's in, I don't really know how to fade him. As a huge favorite, when you fade him, you're fading, 15 DK floor more often than not. Now that he's on PKs, you're really talking about a 30, 35 DK ceiling. So you probably prioritize him if he's in. Let me just give you kind of my lock on at forward. I'm going to go ahead and just put Mahrez in here because I do think that he starts. And if he's in, I will definitely be playing him. Lamela would be my close second at forward. Okay, back to midfield. Maddison is not projected in. Let's start rolling down to where we expect guys in. Buendia, I would actually very much expect not to be in as well. He is coming back from injury. Finally did get the start on Friday to Leicester and was big in their victory. But I really kind of feel like Norwich may fully rotate. They really have to put all of their eggs in the EPL basket and trying to make a late run so they're not relegated. Albrighton should be in for Leicester. Will likely be on all their sets. If we don't have KDB, he is a fine option for spending up. Albrighton is a guy that just crosses every ball he gets a chance to, so he really is a guy DFS players like us love. Tielemans, if you don't see Maddison and don't see Albrighton, he is the most likely person on sets. Bill Foden is my midfield lock. I really hope that he is in. One of the more talented young players in England right now. Was the man of the match over the weekend in the cup title. Shoots, every once in a while will take a corner or two, but draws fouls, is an amazing shot creator and guy that can pick a pass. So just love him. Lo Celso of in has been on all the Spurs sets, even over Lamela. He also feels due to get rotated, but Mourinho, we know how much he loves trophies. With the league not going all that well, I really do think that he may be putting all of his focus towards winning the FA Cup. So would not be surprised if he's in, but he could also be Ndombele. Gundogan took all the sets for City this weekend without KDB, but will easily lose those sets if KDB is in. Duda has been on most of the Norwich sets, even with Buendia back. Ndombele has taken some corners for Spurs, but I don't really expect him to take them over like Lamela or Lo Celso. And at 5,800 for more of his defensive role, that's a tough ask. I did skip over Gray. He doesn't take any sort of sets, but does play wide for Leicester. Solid player, as a fairly big favorite, has some goal upside. So 6,100, probably more GPP without the sets, but solid play nonetheless. Josh Murphy, I think it's Josh, or is this Jacob? Jacob Murphy. Jacob Murphy has actually been crossing the ball a ton for Sheffield Wednesday, but they're not going to have the ball versus City. So that's tough to ask. Let's scroll down. Fernandez, I do expect back in for Spurs. He is more defensive, but if you do see him out wide, he was there 2 or 3 games ago, got some crosses in. So 4,800, you could do worse. Bella had been taking all the sets for Birmingham, but he is confirmed out as of this morning, which is going to bring up one of a value play for us here shortly. Prayet for Leicester should be back in. Nice player for 4,400. So with Bella out, I do think that we will see Dan Crowley in the lineup for Birmingham and likely taking most of their sets. They're a huge dog, but at 3,900, that is a really nice value for us to make some things work. So keep an eye on him. At defender, there's no way in hell I'd play 7,000 for Ricardo if he's in. He is likely not. It should be Justin for Leicester at 5,700 is still steep too. The guy that I really do think is underpriced given the matchup and given the slate is Ben Mendy, who I'm going to plug in here. So yeah, I gave you 3 City, and probably 2 of them won't be in. But I've gone over it on previous pods and previous videos, but Mendy lately for City has really been pretty much playing winger. I was off of him versus Madrid because I didn't think that he could just position himself out of that left wing. He had to be more defensive, and that is what ended up happening. But when City are controlling the ball, if you look at the heat maps and watch the game, he's just parked out on the wing, and as the ball swings around, once it gets to him, he just crosses the ball in. So it's been giving him double-digit cross floors the last few league games. They don't have him priced where they do in the league. He's been 62 to 6,500. So at 5K, that's a huge discount, especially as a big favorite. So I think that as long as we have the salary to do so, is a great play. I will just be honest with you, no other defenders really pop out for me. I do think it's viable to play a center back today just for the salary savings. I've seen Garcia for City predicted, and he is only 3,200. Those City guys, because of the amount of passes, actually come in with a 2-point floor. A lot of times he's going to complete close to 100 passes, a tackle or 2, and now you're at 3-4. Get the clean sheet, and all of a sudden maybe you're at 6 or 7 DK. So at 3,200, that'd be a great play. I do just want to show you one last thing with De Bruyne. So if you put him in with this, you're all of a sudden down at 44.25 per player. You can make it work, but that second forward position is tough to fit. So it's really going to just be depending on your build and what the lineups are. So that is going to wrap up today's coverage. I hope that this helps, and I hope you are enjoying all the soccer content that I am bringing your way. I'm looking forward to, in the future, having some guests. I've talked to a couple of guys about coming on, so that will be enjoyable to not just hear me rant the whole time. The final part, just if you are interested in becoming a member of FSI, you get more soccer coverage than anywhere else. We cover every single soccer slate on Draftkings and FanDuel. $3 a day, $10 a week for soccer only. If you want to be part of all of our sports, you can get a VIP package as low as $6 a day, $20 a week. All right, and that will do it. Thank you for listening, and have a great day, guys.